insecurity, and friends of the opposite sex. Truth, integrity, moving fast, and sound decisions. You have an apology problem. You are holding yourself back. Why are you afraid of rejection? Your partner's trauma is a gift. The hokey pokey is messing you up. Stop sending miles of text messages. Welcome to the Morrow Marriage podcast, guys. And today we're going to talk about insecurity and friends of the opposite sex. Now, this is coming from fan mail. And so, this is that thing we talked about on the old this says today it's cold, moving. It's not warm. Moving. I usually push the hand away because it's warm. But
it's cold hand.
Yes.
Cold up today.
We are not insecure. Did you see how I did not lose my shit? Now, Ryan would have lost his shit there.
I still was delicate. I was like, I actually did it twice. Moved his hand, got up and moved. You put it back. I was like.
See, this guy that sent in the fan mail, he would have probably been very upset with that, right? It makes him feel unloved, unwanted. He's very insecure about the friends that she has. But, I want to address this in two ways. Number one, if you are dealing with insecurities, that is your baggage. I know your partner may have contributed to the load in the suitcase. However, you've got to want to deal and address with your insecurities, your anxiety, your fears, okay? Two, your partner can make things a lot easier on you, okay? And so this particular instance is something would go against the way that Kathryn and I teach. She's got a lot of male friends.
Not me.
No, yeah, the fan mail. This man's wife. Now, let's attack problem number one, okay? I believe that you guys, as somebody who wants more, you say this beautifully. I talk about sexless marriage a lot. Kathryn goes, well, do you want a hugless marriage? You're going to have to get over yourself with your fears on all different types of rejection to start, okay? Meaning, if you don't want that kind of relationship, then you're going to have to start pushing forward. Now, I understand when your partner is pulling back, checked out, not so, let's say, ready to participate on climbing what I call the rejection ladder, okay? Then it can make you feel bad inside. Go back to who you want to be, the kind of relationship you want to have. First and foremost, you can't hide yourself. You've got to be the person that you're supposed to be, okay? The next thing is, when it hurts, you have to try not to take it personally. Everything has led up to this in this moment, okay? Wherever you're at, with whatever you're feeling insecure about, and that includes if your partner has these friends, or if you're wondering who they're talking to or what's going on, we have to take care of this delicately because you guys ask far too many questions. I just wrote a post. I'm pretty sure it'll go viral because it's like, don't talk about sex. And I went through the cycle of what happens and how a woman will check. It actually talked about how women hate job sex more than men, right? But the cycle that leads to it, all of these insecurities get you asking the dumbest questions that aren't moving you forward. You have anything you want to add to that right now?
Not yet.
Okay. And so you start asking questions because insecurity grips you. Okay. And I don't know the relationship with these friends that she has, how inappropriate it is. We set clear boundaries for us where I don't have a bunch of female friends. Kathryn doesn't have a bunch of male friends. Okay. But regardless of what the relationship is that this woman is having with these friends, let's use a common example. Well, I've known this person since middle school, you just have to understand, unless you have a marriage where the priority is boundaries for you guys together, then rules like having no friends of the opposite sex aren't going to come into play. Okay. Nothing yet?
No, you're covering all of it.
Okay. So, if you're dealing with this sort of insecurity, this sort of anxiety, talking to her about why she shouldn't have these friends isn't going to help you.
What if it's not? I have something.
Okay.
What if it's not anxiety that he's struggling with?
Well, what happens is you get insecure and then the anxiety kicks in.
And then you can't escape it.
Yeah, there's depression.
And then you start creating stories in your mind.
Correct.
For what's happening with her and her male friends.
Yeah, why is she wearing the panties? That's one you always can't wrap your head around. But why is she wearing those underwear? So anxiety, or it could be depression, right? This could be why you don't even make a move. That's the hugless thing I was talking about, right? You're just afraid of the rejection, okay? And so you get sad, you get lonely, you don't bother, okay? None of that is going to move you where you want to go. So if you're on our app, go.morrowmarriage.com, That's go.morrowmarriage.com. We have an anxiety checklist that you must do every day if you're dealing with insecurity, if you're dealing with fear, if you go into these downward spirals. Why? Because you need to be able to conquer it. And talking about the rules of marriage, like, what should or shouldn't be allowed with who she gets to speak with and who she gets to hang out with and all that, isn't going to come into play yet. Okay. You have to then think about, that's in check. What's the intimacy checklist that you've got? We run sort of corresponding with the rejection ladder that I created, where guys have to show up and do all these things no matter what. Okay. And then that's because you're trying to create the life that you want. Okay. And then when you get to a point where you're both in, okay, you both want more. Okay. Now you start protecting the new marriage, right? And that's
not protecting yourself.
No, not yourself.
Protecting the marriage. Big difference.
That's right. Where, go back to rolling with women, I think is what the episode was called, where we talked about how I wouldn't roll on the floor of jiu-jitsu with women. And I don't care if they call me a pussy, afraid of a girl. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to get all sweaty and roll around on the ground with a woman when I have the love of my life and I don't need her thinking anything about that. I would rather she knows where I stand. Likewise, she talked about in that episode about how you wouldn't go out for lunch with people after workouts, right? Mm-hmm. Like when it's males, right? There might be males there, but there's a bunch of women too, right? It's totally different. Okay. She ain't sitting next to the dude either. Okay.
And in both of these examples that he's giving, they're innocent, right? Mm-hmm. And so he could be doing jujitsu with a woman. There's nothing wrong with that. I could go for lunch with a male. There's nothing wrong with that at face value. They're both innocent. Nobody's cheating, but it's just the standard that you set. Yeah. Right. So it's going back to the rules for marriage, correcting your partner. We all know what the rules for marriage are, but what do you do to protect your marriage? I don't know that I wouldn't sit next to a male.
Well, maybe I was overstepping there, but
yeah, I'd have to be really intentional. It's not like I would try to sit next to a male, but
yeah, we recently, for example, we were out for an overnight. Okay. And we went out and there was a man I was talking to and his wife heard some of the conversation. And I was really saying, well, dude, that's not a good way to think. You're talking about being a provider mentality, blah, blah. And she interrupted and she goes, what do you do? I said, I'm a marriage coach. And she threw herself on me. Right.
Her lips were on your neck.
Yeah. And
she was nuzzled. She gave him such a big hug that I was standing a few feet away talking to someone else. And I looked and I just saw the tail end of her wrapping her arm. Like she had her arms wrapped around his neck, nuzzled into his neck. And afterwards he said to me, her lips touched. He said, that was so uncomfortable. Her lips touched my neck. Well, she only had about 0.7 of a second before I saw her go in. And it was so uncomfortable. My husband has hugged women before. I have no problem with you hugging a woman. This was so inappropriate. I just got my fingers between her arm and your neck. And I literally ripped her off of you.
And because I didn't know this woman, right? And so there shouldn't really be a hug. And the reason this is coming up is because I talked to a man in my program who was like, well, I'm a hugger. I'm from Southern Texas and I'm a hugger. And my hands went like boundaries. My hands went right onto her hips and pushed. Okay. Like,
poor thing. I'm ripping her arms off. You're pushing her away.
Yeah. Like, anyways, my point is this. I'm not going to put my wife into a position where a lot of people like this hugger in Southern Texas who would be like, yeah, just hug her back. Like, no, you don't. Hey guys, if you're getting a ton of value, please share this episode. Please like this episode. Please leave us a 5-star review and help us get this into more hands and help more people. Thank you. I wouldn't have a bunch of friends from the opposite sex, but you right now with the insecurity, with whatever else you're feeling negative, you're not going to create the life that you want. If you don't get these negative emotions replaced with positive and you start using the intimacy ladder and start climbing it and starting to working her up from rejection to where she then wants, by your example, with the boundaries that you set, not the rules that you put on her, but you put on yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay. The example you set as a leader for the type of marriage you want. That's when at some point in this journey, when you have done enough of the right work on yourself, that's where you get to say, I've inspired, I've led, I've asked you to join. And now I'm going to motivate with a boundary. No contempt. Just follow the steps. It's the Morrow Marriage method. Okay. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.